to Down the Right Field Line with Marlins Nation. The Marlins go out on the road after a horrendous homestand, just like usual, and they go to Washington to finish off the season series against the Washington Nationals. Marlins have always matched up well against them in their lifetime, especially in Nationals Park. The Marlins go in there trying to salvage the season. Trying to get the pitching right, get consistent starts from these guys. Evaldi's trying to earn a rotation spot for next year. So he goes in there, matches up against Strasburg. Again, the Marlins are on Strasburg, hammer him around, and they were able to get him out of the game. As it turns out, that ended up being the last start from Steven Strasburg for the 2012 season because the Nationals ended up shutting him down. Now, there's still a talk that maybe he'll come back in the playoffs if the Nationals do indeed make the playoffs, which all indications are that they will. But in any case, the Marlins hammered him around. Evaldi, too, got a little bit hammered around. The Marlins were able to win it in the 10th to win the first game. The second game, it was rain, 2.5 hour rain delay. Ended up losing that game 6-7. Now Mark Burley pitched 7 innings, only allowing 3 earned runs. A little bit better performance by him. He's trying to get to the 200 inning plateau, which is really important for him because he has the longest streak of active pitchers with 200 inning seasons. So, Guillen is letting him go a little bit further into the game, and he was able to get into the 7th inning. Pretty good start on his side. Anytime Burley allows less than 4 runs, it's a really good start for him because he usually does allow it. But he pitched a lot better. The Marlins ended up losing. In Game 3, Ricky came out, and you started seeing the Ricky of old. He pitched a complete game, 4-hit shutout. Nationals couldn't even touch this guy. Marlins ended up blowing them away. There was no match. And the Marlins ended up taking the final series against the Nationals, winning the series 2-1. So Rafi, we saw Ricky come out really well. Burley started being a little bit more consistent. Rafi, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the differences between the Nationals rotation and Marlins rotation. Going into the season, we thought they were going to be matching up pretty well.
Oh, for sure, definitely. I mean, I think the one contrasting thing is that I think the Marlins have a more of pitch to contact, and I think that's evolved. I mean, you've had fireballers like JJ, and even Nolasco had his strikeout rate up there in the past, but for some reason or another, they're getting their outs other ways, while the Nationals just throw it right by you. You have Strasburg, which you mentioned, Gio Gonzalez, who's up for the Cy Young Award race. Jordan Zimmerman has good stuff. Ross Detweiler, a guy that I think came out of nowhere. Nice lefty for that bullpen and rotation, And Edwin Jackson is another guy who has the strikeout numbers. So there's a vast difference there, but you are right. Coming into the season, we both thought, hey, these guys are going to go head to head and are going to match up pretty well. And you know what? I think for the different seasons that both teams are having, it's matched up pretty much more or less what we've thought, at least against each other, right? I mean, when you think about it, we pretty much split the season series, give or take a game here or there. So I don't think we were that far off. And if you look at it on paper before the season started, of course they match up. And I think if you look at it on paper within the last month or so, given Nolasco's resurgence and given Burley's consistency, JJ has pitched a lot better. Then yes, I do think that they still match up, and it would be an exciting 2013 season if at least Burley, JJ, and Nolasco come back. And as far as the Nationals are concerned, you would think Strasburg, Gio, and Zimmerman for sure are coming back for next year. I don't know about Jackson or Detweiler. I'm sure Detweiler will also be included, but it's definitely exciting to see that. And, I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but let's not forget about the Braves that have a good rotation. So I think as far as class of the National League East, the Nationals have proven themselves worthy to be that class right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now they're fighting to make the playoffs. And when you have a rotation such as theirs that's matching up pitch to pitch, and then you have a bullpen to back that up. Because if you think about the rotation on both sides, the Marlins and the Nationals, you're right, they pretty much they can match up every once in a while. You'll have a really good game that both of them are just like this series. But the problem is the bullpen. The Marlins have a lead, it goes to the bullpen, they lose the lead, and of course it doesn't reflect on the starting pitcher as far as them getting a win or a loss, but it does on the other side because the other side they were able to keep the lead and then the pitcher gets the win. So you're absolutely right, Rafi. We'll see next year if the Marlins can rebuild that rotation a little bit and rebuild the bullpen especially. Maybe these two teams do match up really well. They have their fair share of lefties and righties, and if Evaldi can come up as a big time starter, some of the other guys that we picked up, Turner can get into that rotation, be a consistent starter there, LeBlanc maybe even. So all these guys getting in there consistently. And you think about the Marlins rotation even this year, we've had pretty good consistency as far as answering the bell every 5 days, no pun intended. Every 5 days they're there to start. JJ, I don't want to jinx anything, but JJ hasn't missed a start. These things are really important to build confidence for 2013 and beyond once we start getting better offense. So the Marlins then take a train ride up to Philadelphia to face the Phillies in Citizens Bank Park, 3-game series. The Phillies are red hot. With the Marlins going in there, they're red hot, trying to get back to 500. They had won 4 straight games up to this point. Kyle Kendricks there pitching game 1, dominates us. We can only put 1 run on the board. We lose 3-1. And then going into game 2, we were really overmatched. The Phillies took an 8-3 lead going into the 7th. Roy Halladay's on the mound. You're like, this is game over. Marlins score 4 runs in the 7th against Halladay. This type of offense gives you kind of a little bit of hope for next year, saying, well, if Reyes and these guys can put things together now, they're going to have more confidence. Just like we were talking about the bullpen and starter rotation. This offense, if it starts clicking now, it might carry over to 2013. We might be able to get guys in key spots to be able to put this team together. And one of the key things that didn't allow us to win that game was an error by Brantley. Rookie error, pop up, misjudges it, glances off his glove. It was 2 strikes on Rollins. It would have, ended the inning. Very next pitch, of course, just like always, very next pitch, Rollins has a 2-run shot. Brantley takes off his helmet, smacks it on the ground, and he's pissed. I kind of like to see that kind of emotion on his part. He's a rookie, he's a little frustrated. You don't want to see the Bryce Harper type total breakdown type thing, but Brantley really feeling that he wants to be a part of this team long term. And he made a mistake. He had to pay for it. Marlins did lose that game 9-7, so that those 2 runs didn't make a big difference. Although Reyes did have a chance to tie the game, but he struck out. Now the big thing was in game 3, JJ took a no-hitter into the 5th inning. JJ's old stuff. I mean, he was just out there just pounding the strike zone, keeping the ball down with his slider. Crazy, crazy stuff. This is the kind of JJ you want to see. But, Cliff Lee was better. And it's one of those nights when you matched up against the Phillies, you know that the other guys can be a lot better. And the Marlins ended up losing 3-1. And the Marlins decided to losing road trip, to going 2-4 in the road trip. There was some things that you like to see in this road trip, the pitching wise and offense wise. But overall, we ended up losing the game. So now on a separate topic, kind of relating to this, the Phillies are trying to make the playoffs now, trying to make a march to the playoffs after having a terrible season. And most years, you have a terrible season, it's a total loss. But in this case, the Phillies are really close to that second wild card spot within striking distance. And now you're going to be saying, Well, now are you going to have somebody that could win the World Series pretty much coming out of the third place spot? So it makes you kind of think, it makes you question the whole system and say, okay, can a third place team really win the World Series? ESPN put out an article written by Jim Capel, and in this, it kind of breaks down the new system, which I thought would be interesting. I wanted to see what you guys thought. Essentially, it would expand baseball to 32 teams. The author pretty much wanted to add another team back in Brooklyn. You would have 3 New York teams, and actually put out another team out in Montreal again, which, I don't know if that would work again. But with 32 teams, you would have 4 divisions, like in football, and then you would have the winner of each division goes to the playoffs. No wild card, just division winners. Rafi, it's an interesting system, but is that something that's going to work with baseball to expand and then have 4 divisions?
The expanding part is difficult on its own. I mean, last time we've had an expansion was 1998, and it just we really haven't heard anything as far as expansion. I mean, the only thing that we've heard in reference to that was the Marlins moving to San Antonio or wherever. This is a while back. So as far as expansion, that's difficult. It would be interesting, and I don't think Montreal would be the ideal place to have a ball club again. But it's something interesting. But given that, I would still add wild cards. The marketing, the whole concept of the wild card is something that appeals to every fan. It's something that maybe not the purists, but that team that you said has no business being in the playoffs, has no business doing what they're doing, and all of a sudden they're playing for a world championship. I mean, come on, and who better to know that than us? We've won both of our world championships via the wild card. So to take that away, it's just, to me, it's ridiculous, really. I mean, and it's...
Let me ask you a question, Raph. I don't mean to interrupt you. Are you saying that the wild card is kind of a way to balance out the league, because you might have a team such as the Nationals or the Braves that run away with the division, and maybe you have a second team in that division that is still really good, but you can't win the division because the other team ran away? So you're saying that that's kind of a way to balance it out?
Of course, definitely. And let's be honest with ourselves. There are teams that go into spring training, yes, their goal is to win the division. In theory, but you look at realistically and say, well, we might not be as good as that team, so we'll try our best to get that division, but that you're aiming for the wild card, and because of that, I mean, it gives teams hopes, and like you said, it balances the league, and it gets more people interested in the game. I think more fans are invested. You're not tuned out by mid-July because your team's out of it, and there's no way you're going to catch a team that's 10 games ahead of you. There's just so many things that the wild card can bring to the game that I think doing away with it would be horrible. And by adding 2 wild cards, as we did now, or adding 1 more, I think that would be even better, and it would serve baseball tremendously, because now, like I just finished saying, you have more people invested in it, and it just becomes a fun ride, a fun summer for baseball.
Now, one more question, Raph. Are you okay with the third place team winning the World Series?
Why not? Why not? If they get a chance to do it, if they get a chance to go to the dance, who's to say that they have no business winning? I understand that, they had a poor season, and if they slip in, it's not fair. But hey, if they catch fire in October, why not? It's I see where you might say, like I just finished saying it, it's not right. I have no problem with it. I'd like to see. I'm not a Phillies fan or a Brewers fan per se, but a team like that is kind of clawing back from double digits out of the wild card to finally perhaps punch their ticket to the dance. And now all of a sudden, you look at them and you're like, wow, if they catch on fire and they make it to the postseason and make it to the World Series, who knows? And you know what? I think baseball would be a lot better and more fun if one of these teams just rides through into October.
You're absolutely right, Rafi. And last year was a perfect example of it. When you had all those tough races that went down to the last day of the season. And, I think baseball over the offseason really wanted to replicate that over and over again every year for ratings purposes, but also for the fun of the game. And I think, the current system, I agree, is not perfected yet. I don't think a one-game playoff is what baseball needs. I'm more for a 3-game series, then a 5, then 7, and then on and on. You could even shorten the season to 160 games if you want to be able to squeeze in those 2 extra games in there. Whatever the case is, we need to refine the playoff system a tiny little bit. It's not perfected yet, but there's definitely a lot of opinions out there. Send us some of your opinions on what you think we should do at Down the RF Line, or find us on Facebook and let us know what you guys think about the playoff system. Just to kind of give you guys a preview, this random video of the week is probably one of the best you guys have ever seen. So for now, from all of us here at Down the Right Field Line, we'll see you next week. And here is our random video of the week, which we like to call the Major Africa.
Later.